Hi everybody, welcome to the LNROOM. I'm Tony Alden, and today in this episode 12, we're going to look at pyln-client implementation, specifically the method of the class plugin. This method is used with Python decorators to add, as we can see here for instance, the method foo to core lightning, which takes one argument x and returns the JSON object with the field foo and x. Let's jump into our terminal to see what does that mean exactly. So we have here we can see the setup that I have on my machine: Ubuntu, Python, Lightning-D, pyln-client. I'm already running two nodes on Beacon rate test with one which has the alias L1-CLI, and I've already started the plugin, my plugin, which define this method foo. So we can call it to be sure that we are clear with what we're telling. So we call the method foo, we pass it bar, and here we see that we have that object. If we change there, we will have foo base. So this is implemented with pyln-client, and we can go directly in my plugin, and this is implemented like this, as we've already seen in previous videos or live. So in the previous part of the overview of the implementation of pyln-client, we focused on plugin.run, this part that I'm going to remind what it does. And today we are going to look at this part which add the method to core lightning. So first, here is what happened when we are in plugin runs. When the plugin starts running, we have Lightning-D when we start the plugin. So we start the plugin, we do some stuff here, and then we are running. So the run is a IO loop with Lightning-D. So Lightning-D send us at setup the get manifest request that we have here, and then what does the plugin do? It's going to look at all the methods it has defined, find the get manifest, which is the method we want to, the method we want to respond, and that method, which is an object of class method, as a function, and we execute that function. The result is passed in the property, in the field result of the JSON response that we send back to Lightning-D. At that moment, we pass at the second step, and Lightning-D say, okay, so now I send you the init request, and with the init request we have some information about, for instance, the socket path of the file to communicate with our node. We have other information, and what the plugin does is really to look in plugin methods dictionary for the init method. So we have a method which has a function. We execute that function with the right parameters, and we send back the response to Lightning-D. Okay, fine. And now happens the interesting part, which is that we are waiting on a standard in the Lightning-D request. So this is what happened. We wait, we read, and we wait for something. At some point, maybe a client will send to Lightning-D, so it will send a foo request with the method foo. Okay, so Lightning-D say the plugin that registered foo is the plugin, my plugin that we are running. So it decides that Lightning-D send that foo request to our plugin, so to my plugin. And what we do is that we look in the dictionary of the method the foo. We have it. This is a method. We have a function that is defined, which is exactly that function here that we have. We applied that function. We execute it, and we send back a response to Lightning D with the field result to be that result of that function. Lightning D gets that response and send it back to the client. And then what happened is that we repeat the step 3 to 6 again and again and again. So here is this is what we did last time. So we focused on the implementation of plugin.run, and we've seen that it has to do with plugging methods, the dictionary of the methods that we have in our plugin, and we registered to Lightning D. So we no longer need this part, and we are going to play a little bit with that part. So today's different from the last videos. On the last video, what we did is really to go into the source code, change some stuff into pyln-client source code, to have to understand a little bit what's going on. Today we do it in other fashion. So we are just going to look here but we just look that plugin.methods are how they are added, and then we are going to write a really simple, too simple class that look like what pyln-client does, in order to understand how does it work. So it's really simplified. So we simplified the thing with just the parts that have to do with that way to add method to plugin.methods. So. And at the end, we go into the source code and we look at some method and some on the two classes, method and plugin, and we are going to see the parallel with the simplified construction that we are going to do. So this is the plan, and I hope you will enjoy it. So first, we are going to start Python interpreter at the bottom, and we send it pyln-client plugin. So you can see that I've changed. We have a new line here, and here at the bottom send from pyln-client import plugin. So we have the thing that we send to the interpreter. Now we are going to look at plugin we instantiate, and the only thing that we want to see are the methods. So let's see those methods. At that point, I just instantiated plugin, and we have to. So this is a dictionary. Here we have init, get manifest are in plugin methods, and they are both of the class method. Okay, fine. Let's see. So we can have init. This is of the class of method. This is a method, and this add a name that we can see at the bottom, which is init, and also a function. And the function is here that we can see it. So this is underscore init. So when we respond to Lightning D to the request init, we used that method to answer to Lightning D. So here we are, and now let's see what happened here. So how does decorators works in here is that we haven't sent that to the interpreter, and we are just writing what sending this does inside. So plugin method, and what we do is that first, when we are going to send that, we are going to have plugin.method.foo, which is going to be evaluated, and this return a function which is a decorator. So a decorator is a function that take as input a function which is going to be foo func here, and that return another function. And in the case of pyln-client, it returns exactly the same function. So here, when in the case that we send this and we run this with Python, this is what happened in reality. So this is what happened. We don't do it, and we are just going to look at this one, and after we will run it. So we said that this should be a function. Okay, so this return a function, as we can see here, that when we evaluate that expression, we get a function. Okay, fine. And maybe we can do something. We don't go to the source code, but we can inspect the source code with import inspect. So we use this, and we are going to call inspect, and we want get source, and we want the source of which function. We want that function, and as it's going to give us back a string, we want to print that string. Okay, so here, as we can see here, we have plugin.method.foo, which is when we call it, it returns a function, and that function is called a decorator, and we have its source code printed here. So this is that function, which take a function here that is used 2 times inside the body of decorators, and that function in our case is foo func here. And what can we can say more? So we can say, okay, and here we call self.add method with the method name, which is foo in our case. So the method name is foo, and with f. So we add, this is that function add method that add the method to plugin.method. So we are going to see how we can work with that and do a construction simplified of this. Right now, what we can do is, so let's clear a little bit everything here. We comment all that we have here, and we are going to be sure that nothing modified our plugin methods. We put it again here, and we see we just have init and get manifest because we didn't evaluate this. We didn't send it to the Python interpreter, and now we send it, and we should see something interesting, which is, okay, so now we have it. If we look at in plugin.methods, we have an entry for foo, which is a method, and now we are going to look at foo, an object method that has a function, a property function, and that function is exactly what we see here. So this is function foo func. Really, what this is what the Python decorators allow to do thanks to the choices made by pyln-client implementation. and this is what we have. And now last thing, now that's it. Now maybe we can just call it, and we pass it here bar, and we see that we get foo bar. Okay, so first part, we've seen a little bit what's happened when we start at the beginning. So we have the plugin here, we instantiate, then we have the plugin methods, we have the init and the get manifest, and here when we use Python decorator this way and the implementation of pyln, this adds the foo method to the list of the methods. Yes, okay, cool. So now let's write an example of method and plugin that we are going to call. So the file here is class myplugin, and we are going to write a simplified version of just this part of adding method to a property of the class using Python decorators. And I hope this will be clear and help understand the overall implementation of pyln-client. So let's go. We call it, how do we call it? My method, we call it my method, which is something in our case that take a name, take a function, and we just do something simple, which is we want a name and we want the function. Okay, so let's send this to our Python interpreter and use it. My method, we instantiate it, we have it. What did I do? See, so it's not up because okay, fine, true. So missing two, so we can still continue with this video. Missing two required positional argument, name and funct. This is true. So what we want to have is foo, and maybe we are passing a lambda to understand that we can pass anything as we didn't specify the types, but as we want func to be a function, let's do an example with a function. So it's working, and now we can look at my method, which is my method, and we have the function, this is a function, and we can call that function with this function, then one argument. So if we call it bar, it should return bar. Okay, so this is for my method. Nothing fancy, but we had to do it. See that it's working as we want. Now we don't need it anymore, this example, and we go to my plugin. My plugin doesn't take nothing, and here we want the methods. So at the beginning we've seen that the plugin class of pyln-client take care of initializing this method with init and get manifest field. So let's put here init, which is going to have which is my method. So we have my method here. So we have my method. Now to my method we want to pass it a name, which is going to be init, and if we remember well, in pyln they use this name. So self dot underscore init is a function that we are going to pass to define just after, and we do the same thing with get manifest. We need a t at the end, so we have that. Now that we define those things, we need method, we need the underscore init, which takes something. No, it takes nothing, so yes, and we just return something like I'm init. Okay, now we can use it to have get manifest. So we have those both. Is this enough to start playing with that? Let me think a little bit. So yes, this is enough. So we're going to look at this, and we send that to our interpreter. And now let's look at my plugin. So my plugin, and what we can do is call it, we instantiate one, which take my plugin here. We have it, and now we should have something like that with methods, which is not exactly, but this is something that we've seen before with the real plugin. So in my methods, we have at the beginning, just after instantiated the object, we have init, we have get manifest, that are both of class method. Here they are of class my method, and we can see that at their method we can query for init, use the function, and the function takes no argument, which is and should return I'm init. Okay, so this is I'm init, and we can continue and in some way bury this example, and let's continue. What do we need now? It would be interesting to have the add method. So yes, let's add method. So if we want to add a method, what we want is we want a name and a function. We have add method, name, function, and what we want is to add it to self.method. So this will be something like that. Method. We want name here to be of the class my method, and my method take name and function, take two arguments that I forgot in the previous example, but we have it now. And let's do another example. So here we have that, so maybe we are just going to show this part. So now we are looking at my plugin, and which is did we send it? Yes, now we send it, my plugin add method. So we do it again, my plugin, which is going to be my plugin here. We send it in the interpreter, and now to look again that the methods only are init and get manifest. Okay, so this is what we expected, and we are using add method. So now we can use it like that and pass it a name, and let's just call it foo, and we are going to take again this lambda, which is the identity, which returns the same thing that we have. If we call it, and now we can send those methods, and we see that we no longer have only init and get manifest in my plugin.method property, but we also have foo, which is of class myMethod. Okay, and now what we are going to do, we can just look at that. If we look up for it, we take the function, and that function specifically take one argument that we pass it, which is bar right now, and we have this at the bottom. So here is so far our construction. We can bury this, so let's do that, and we take a little break. So we have that, so far this is my plugin. So my plugin add an init, add methods, two function, underscore init, underscore get manifest for the already defined init and get manifest keys, and we have a way to add a method. And now we just need to do the part we are interested in, which is the part of the decorators. So here, remember that we called it, it is called in pyln-client method. That method takes a name. Yes, it takes the name of the method that we want to define, that we want to register to Core Lightning. So we have that name here, and now how it's done is by defining inside a function that we call a decorator. That function take a function, will return the function f, but what we really want is here is to add method. We want to add a method. Yes, this is we are doing it right. So we want to add the method name and the function f that we have. So this is the important part, and we return f, and finally we have to return the decorator, because if we don't return the decorator, all the things that that uses the decorator syntax won't work. So now we can open that, and we are going to have everything on the right of the screen. So we send that, and we do new example, which are the final example, which is what we this is what we've done. That so again we instantiate my plugin here. Now okay, I send it to the interpreter, and now what we want, see, let's again we look at the methods here, and we only have, as we can see at the right, we only have init and get manifest. And now this is the fun part where we use the Python decorators. We want to define foo method. We defined foo func. Here we have it, which take my plugin to give it the same signature as it is done in pyln-client. We don't use this argument right now, but it's just really to have something that fit exactly with pyln-client implementation. We pass it an X, and we return something which is going to be, as we did from the beginning, foo x. And now if we send that there, okay, let's see if we have it right. And now yes, so we see here in the interpreter that in my plugin .methods we've added the entry foo, which is which has as value an object my method. And finally, maybe we can see that and call it. So we get foo. This is of class my method, so we can we have the function func. In our case, as we take foo, this is going to be foo func here. And maybe we can just print this out. So we send it. So yes, so this is what we have here. Foo func is the function that have been registered, and let's just call it with my plugin that we don't use, but we have to pass it. And here we put it bar, and we get that object, that JSON object. Okay, cool. So maybe the right term is not to summarize, but to have a look at what we've written right now, we've written that. So this part is really the minimum we have to understand and to get to understand this part that is done in pyln-client, which is just one of the many parts that make the package working and defining new JSON RPC method working. But here it is. So that uses the Python decorators here that we see at that part. So let me brief a little bit, and we are going to look at the last thing that I wanted to do with you today, which is to look now at what we've done, but in the real code. We are not going to modify it, but just to see the parallel that we can have. So let's jump. So we have it in a Python environment that we call .varp. So here we can find pyln here, and we want client, and we want specifically the plugin.py file. Here we are, and we have all those methods that are used. So we have the class method here, and we have the class plugin, which corresponds to my method and my plugin that we did before. Let's just look at this one. Okay, so the parallel with OR is that we have here a name. Everything here is because there are types that we didn't use. We have a function, and here we define self name to be name and self.function to be function. That this is, we kept only this small little part of my method, because we use it not to have a complete implementation, but to have a sense of what's going on. Let's now look at plugin. So we can see init, and here we have something quite similar, which are self methods, but they are added this way only for init, which has a method init and self init as we've seen, and for get manifest, this used directly, as we can see here, the add method. So here directly get manifest is added with the method add method this way. So here for the parts that we are interested in, so we go now. Let's have a look at add method. So there is a lot of here. Maybe we can just remove that. So I remove the comment, the docstring, to have a view of add method. So here the same way, it's called add method. And what we passed it before was a name and a function that we have. Here it is, this part is a test just to not add something that had already been added. Here we define a method with the class method. We did it with my method, and we add the name entry in self method with a method. So here, this is really what we did. There are more stuff because the pyln-client is complete, not as what we did. And last part is the method. So here we have it, and really this is the same implementation. This is what we wanted to do. We have the type that that doesn't help to see everything right away, but here we have the method. We take a method name. The method name is used as the first argument of the add method method here, which is used in the decorator, which it has the function f as a method with method name, and here we return f, and the overall method return the decorator. So this is all that we have for today, and maybe we can end with this screen. I hope this is useful, and see you in the next episode.